I'm Dominik. I'm also organizing events like this. I'm from Czech Republic. Obviously, I usually speak around the world, so that's the reason why I have it there. I'm currently Firebase Google Developer Expert and also Flutter Dev since 0.05 version of Flutter. I'm working as a CTO of Twitoshi, currently named Plebstr. If you want to know why it's named Plebstr, because usually it's not green name, and we currently think the same. It's not green name. I can answer that question later at a cafe. And I'm also a Bitcoin beer focused. I love beer. I usually drink beer every day. Just one, by the way, not more. Trying to. And I like Bitcoin. If you want to talk about besides Flutter, I would love to talk about it. Okay, simple question. Is it production ready? Yes, that's it. Okay, end of the presentation. Yeah, it's really production ready. But what is Flutter? How many of you tried Flutter? That's a lot. And at least heard about it? Okay, that's still like probably 99% of the whole room. But I will sum it up. It's open source UI framework from Google. Google is known from the past that they love killing things. I hope that this is not the technology they will kill. At least it's open source. Usually what they are killing, it's not open source. This one is. So if they will decide that they will not support it in the future, community can take it over. It was initially built just for the iOS and Android. But right now it's supporting Android, iOS, also web, also macOS, also Windows, Linux, Embed. All of those platforms are covered by the Flutter. The iOS and Android are the best. Web, we will talk about it later. And macOS and Windows are kind of cool. I haven't tried Linux yet, but heard that similar to Windows. About the technology, about the Flutter, it's being used currently in those companies. Do you see any company that you know? Yeah. Raise it up. So you're probably using Flutter already. By the way, lots of tools from the Google Pay, Google Play is currently being developed to be transferred to the Flutter. All of the applications are moving to the Flutter. So it's production ready. It's being used by the large companies as Alibaba, as a New York Times, eBay. Those are kind of large companies. Not all of those are using Flutter in the whole app. They're not transferred all the code base to the Flutter. They sometimes use just the part of the app is in a Flutter. You can, for example, have Android native and embed Flutter view into it. That's no problem. So some of the companies. Does anyone of you have BMW car? Yeah, so the app from the BMW is in the Flutter. Last couple of years, I will still sum it up. 6 platform, as I mentioned. It's being used by 5 million developers out there already. It's third open source project by stars on GitHub. I think it's already second. Probably some of you can check it up. And 700,000 apps are out there in the Google Play. Flutter is developed in Dart. That's one of the reasons that a lot of developers are not moving to the Flutter, because they need to learn new language. But from my experience, previously I wasn't Flutter developer. I was Android and Kotlin developer. I also tried React Native. And in the past tried also Xamarin and the weird things in a multi-platform, Ionic and things like that. And it wasn't hard to transfer to the Dart. Dart is a really simple language. I haven't heard from anyone from the Flutter that transferred to the Dart that he had any problems to move to Dart. It's simple, object-oriented language. It already have type safety, garbage collection, and previously it was used for the Angular Dart, but that wasn't a great project. And Google decided that Dart language is great for the Flutter framework. We'll talk about why. One thing about the Dart also, in the past years, because of the Flutter, it's already on a 19th place in the rankings. We are moving forward to the number 1, but we have JavaScript there, so we will see. I will try to push it up more. Maybe some of you can help me. And so Dart is currently being used mostly only in Flutter. So that's speaking itself. The JavaScript, Python, Java is being used on a lot of platforms or a lot of frameworks. But Dart mostly is being used only in Flutter. So that's speaking itself why it's really now I forgot a lot of the developers already using it. It speaks itself. About the framework, how does it work? In the past, how I tried the React Native and not the Kotlin multi-platform. By the way, when I was traveling here from Ostrava, I was kind of worried that you're gonna beat me up because I heard there is a lot of Kotlin multi-platform talks. I was like, oh, okay, there will be a fight, Flutter versus Kotlin multi-platform. But still, I am living. Let's see how it's going rest of the night. But in the past, I tried React Native and XLate. Usually, some of the frameworks have bridge between the native layer and the code, like the JavaScript. The Flutter is compiled to new machine code. There is an engine that's rendering the canvas, and it's rendering by the code that you developed. When you're developing, it's running on a VM, so it has nice features like a hot reload and things like that. We will talk about it also later. It has 3 layers. You have your framework Dart. It has 2 libraries called Material and Cupertino. Those 2 libraries take care of the widgets. Material is obviously Material widgets on Android. Cupertino is iOS widgets. Underneath are the native widgets. Can be container. It's like div on the JavaScript. Underneath, you take care of the rendering. If you want to, for example, draw a line on a screen, as I already told, all Flutter is itself moved to like different path as other frameworks. They decided everything is being like rendered pixel by pixel on a canvas. That's a different approach other than the other frameworks. They usually take, for example, the native components and trying to like use it up. Flutter is not using almost any. And using the native components is rendering all the pixels itself. So it's kind of like a game engine. It's really near that. And so you can, for example, render basic line. You can do 2D game in it. You can whatever you want. Also, there is animation, painting, gestures. Yeah, if somebody tap it up or swipe, yeah, no problem. Foundation, those are low-level things that takes care of most of the widgets up there. And there you have engine written in C and C++. There is a service protocol. I will not talk about everything. Important is platform channel. There was a question before my talk that how Kotlin multi-platform takes care of the native code. How does it speak to the native code? So platform channels is the way how to speak to native channel. You're gonna make like channel through Kotlin or Swift. Or for example, I'm asking Android, do you have gesture navigation? Do you using gestures? Yes, I'm using gestures. There is a channel between native code and and your Flutter code, and it will answer me the Boolean true or false. Dart isolates, that's a like thread-like. If you want some background services or some heavy computation, Dart isolates the way. For example, in a Plebstr, we have encrypted messages, and when we want to decrypt them using isolates, because decrypting sometimes we have like, I don't know, 1,000 messages, it takes a lot of computation. So we rather do it on a background and don't worry about the UI thread. And other things, I will not talk about other things. Yeah, there is a native plugin. About the methods channels, that was the thing that I was talking about. I hope all of you are the Android developers, at least seen the Android code. So this is the Kotlin, and I have method channel. That's not the greatest code I've seen in my life, but we will live for now with that. I created method channel for the gesture navigation. I named it gesture navigation, and when it's called, I will ask the native part if it's navigation mode gesture. If it's, I will answer to the Dart part. On the Dart side, yeah, of course, on the web, I don't worry about the gesture that much. But on Android, I will create the channel, get a string name, and ask for the result of the boolean. That's the way how we talk to the native part. Great thing about this, you don't have to worry about it anymore, because Dart 3 that's coming already have ability to generate all of this code. So you just tell which part of the native you want to talk with, and it will generate Dart code and native part for you. So usually in the future you will not worry about the native part. Strengths of the Flutter code. So hot reload. Does anyone know, or all of you know what is hot reload? Or who doesn't? Great. Everyone knows hot reload is great. I like that. It has awesome pre-built widget. I usually don't, when it's simple application, I usually don't write new widgets. I just use those that are already there. It's compiled to the machine code. It's using Canvas. It's a kind of like different approach again to the some of the frameworks. It's a widget architecture, but everything in Flutter is widget. So I will try to run this code. Yeah, I prepared it here. Yeah, sorry. Yep. When I talk that everything in a Flutter is widget, hope it's already compiling. Usually don't. Yeah. When I'm talking about everything is widget, whole app is a widget. So I can rotate it, for example, for the user. By the way, we have this as an Easter egg in every app that I'm creating. Unfortunately, one update fucked it up, and it was released for all users. So one update wasn't great, and now our uninstall rate was like 30%. But we have that Easter egg. So that's why I'm like talking about everything is in a Flutter is widget. Everything is in a Flutter widget. There is some approaches like getX. That's state management. Usually when somebody is coming from the React Native using that, I don't recommend using that, because it's using weird patterns that are not common in a Flutter. It's not, because you have in a Flutter you have things called build context. That's we can call it class that contains all information of the widgets above in a tree. And getX, usually when you're creating a widget tree, you want to use that context. Every time you want to use that context. getX somehow, or I don't know why, took a different approach and communicating across your Flutter app without using any context. So you're gonna get lots of bugs in the future. When we are talking also about the code, what are you writing? So you write this part. Usually, again, don't usually care about the native part. It's already being generated now. I think Dart 3 is already in alpha. So the platform-specific part is not usually, you are usually not caring about it and writing just Dart part. Weaknesses. As I was talking, one of the weaknesses is steep curve because of the Dart language. Some of the developers are not used to Dart language and need to learn that. Some of the users are not used to that strong widget tree. They need to learn that. So this is the steep curve that I'm talking about. But once you learn those patterns, it's pretty easy to use Flutter. I recommend it to use it at least once for some small app to see how it's really fast. For example, when somebody asked me, "Hey, do the demo," I'm pretty strong in Figma also. I usually rather write code and do the demo in a code because it's really faster to write the code in Flutter than design it in Figma for me. Fewer libraries. When I came from the Android part or the React Native part, I saw there is on a JavaScript you have npm, so there is a lot of libraries for everything and libraries for libraries. On a Dart side, we have pubdev. That's a pub is package, and when I started, there was a lot of like small libraries, but there wasn't any big one. And also lots of libraries wasn't covering things. So I was missing lots of libraries at the start and still missing nowadays. So be aware that you're gonna probably write some code that you're not used to write. So because at the other frameworks or languages, you already have a library for that. In a Dart and Flutter, sometimes you don't have library for that. And also performance. It was under strength and weakness, and there's a reason. There is a reason for that. Some applications have near perfect performance. You don't see difference between the native application and the Flutter application. But when it comes to, for example, lists, the Flutter is really fucking up. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's because of Flutter is using Skia engine right now. It's a really old engine from the Google. And they realized it's not ready for the production. So Flutter is ready for the production, not the engine. The engine sometimes will not do the good shadering. And you, for example, have list in a 120 FPS mobile phone rendered in a 60 FPS. That's a problem in a Flutter.
Is it being solved?
Yeah, I'm now going to talk about it. So there is a new engine coming up. It's already in a preview. It's called Impeller. They completely rewrite whole engine for the Flutter. Already solved the shader compilation. The build time is like much faster. All the graphic resources is written. Already also is not tied to any like native part. They completely rewrite the Skia engine, did the Impeller, and uses modern graphic APIs. So it's also faster, much faster. I tried it once on one app that I was developing in the past. That app had a huge list with a lot of widgets and with a lot of components. It was rendering at around 60, 70 FPS. With the Skia, with the Impeller, it was 200 FPS. So it's a really steep forward. Also, videos cannot be loaded. Okay, I'm gonna show that video on the coffee break. I will not find it now, but this in the demo I was showing that there is already being developed the 3D part for this impeller, because there was a lot of talks in a Flutter community if the Flutter is ready for the 3D. It's 2D engine, it's not ready for the 3D, but you can render 3D with that. You can compute how far, for example, is the water and things like that. You can pretty much do the 3D. But in the Skia engine, it was not that performant. In the impeller engine, there are already demos out there. It's running 220 FPS without any problem. So 3D is probably in a way for some games, but I would still not recommend Flutter for the 3D apps. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Dart free, also one thing to that. There is 100% sound null safety. Null safety was released with the Dart 2 or 1.8. I think Dart 2, but it wasn't a bulletproof. You could still write non-null safe code in that, and it would be okay. But Flutter team took another step forward, and they moved Dart 3 to 100% sound null safety. So all the code that you're writing already have to be null safe. So you can't write your code in a mixed mode. Also, there are some portability enhancements on the website. I was talking about at the start. Web part of the Flutter before was kind of bad. When you tried web app on a Flutter, it was, for example, starting like 5-6 seconds. So that's not good performance on the web. And Flutter team took another approach, and they moved web part to the WebAssembly. And seems that was a good approach, and already they are seeing like big. I haven't tried it yet, to be honest. But I saw some demos, and it seems that in the future you will be able to write web Flutter application with a really good performance. I don't call it near perfect. Definitely the web frameworks will kill it. But if you have already one code base and you want to run it up on the web, there is a possibility for that. Also, there is a support for the new architecture. There is also better support for the ARMs. Funny things about the Flutter. Because everything is rendered under canvas, you sometimes reach to weird bugs in a Flutter. For example, as this one. Emojis are not properly rendered. So I have app with lots of emojis, and seems that on iOS, half of the emojis I'm not able to render, because the canvas kit is not ready for that. There is no like component to render that specific emoji. Those are the things that you still need to keep in mind. They are fixing those, but not fast as I want to. About the state management, there are lots of packages out there. Obviously, on the React Native, there are lots of them on the Kotlin multi-platform. I think too. I haven't tried Kotlin multi-platform, but I think there is a lot of. On the Flutter, obviously is also. From our side, I would recommend the block. It's one of the most. It's generating one of the most codes. So it's generating a lot of code. So there is a lot of boilerplate in your project, but I see it as one of the strongest in this competition. If you have large app with lots of widgets, lots of pages, lots of services, block is probably for me is always the way. I tried the provider. It's a native site. You don't have to install any package. I think with a provider, it's already built into Flutter. It works, but in a large complex app, you would need to write a lot of like extra layers on top of the provider to get proper state management. Flutter block usually solves that. I wanted to go do the demo, but I already did the demo, so that's end of my presentation. I hope I answered some of your questions that Flutter is, if the Flutter is already production ready. I would love to get the questions.
Thank you, Dominik. I have to say you're really brave because posting to production the Easter egg like this,
yeah,
it might look really like the app is not working at all. And I can imagine the people like trying to stop the rotation, you know, playing with the device.
At the A1 app, we had it with the rotation of the tablet. So when you turn it in a width mode with the
like landscape, right?
Landscape mode, yeah. It turned in a normal mode. So yeah, it was kind of funny for some users. Some of the users that had this bug, it was our Easter egg that we released, still used it. They just waited for the button to pop it up.
Cool. I checked Slido. There was no question, so I have one question for you at the beginning. Then I will probably just again ask for the audience. Can you imagine when I will try to merge last two presentations, right? Can you imagine an app which uses KMM for the business logic, and then Flutter for faces for both Android and iOS?
It would be possible. Yeah, I can imagine that. I don't know why would you do that, but yeah, you can do that. I love the part that the Flutter render everything in a canvas. It's sometimes a strong thing. So maybe if you want to render something super complex on the screen, you want to take Flutter with yourself. But no, I would not do that. But I would love to try that. I would love to try the Kotlin multi-platform, to be honest. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, my point was that actually the Kotlin multi-platform was for business logic, but then for every platform they used actually the native UI. And Flutter is a solution for the native UI because everything is the same widget and it automatically render under Material or Cupertino. So actually you would use double times multi-platform approach.
Yeah, but also mixing the lots of languages, you would mix the Swift, Kotlin, you also mix the Dart. Yeah, it would be a very complex project, but we can talk with the Livesport guys if they want to try it out. I think the Livesport, I don't know if anyone of you is from the Livesport, but I heard that they once were thinking about using Flutter in the past, but they didn't. From the Czech companies, for example, the Prague, the largest hospital in Prague, IKEM, is using Flutter for all of their apps. Or the Hello Bank is using Flutter also. So one of the few large companies in the Czech Republic is using Flutter already.
Yeah, I can share Muse as well, for example.
Muse
as well. Okay, good. Any questions for you?
This might be an offensive question, but if composed multi-platform becomes a thing, what would be the advantages of Flutter over Kotlin multi-platform?
So can you repeat the question first? In any way?
Yeah, if the compose will be production ready, will it replace the Flutter? Kinda.
Yes.
For me, not. I don't have. I will not be smart. I don't have answer for that. I really don't look to the compose that much. So, yeah. Sorry.
Any other questions? Still, there is a treatment of the lightsaber pen. So.
Yeah.
About the Kotlin, can it be deployed to Mac or Windows? It is a question for the guy here. Maybe this would be advantage for Flutter. So you can deploy it.
Yeah. I like that part that you can use Flutter for anything, any device that you want. I already saw some demos that a guy in the Flutter team used Flutter on the Windows 98, and it was running properly. Also, Flutter is okay with running on old Androids like 4.3. No problem with that. So it's great on all devices. It's really working properly and rendering really fast, sometimes faster than the native part. That's funny. So that's probably one of the advantages also in Flutter. It's super fast on old phones, on old MacBooks, also on old Windows, on old Androids. I saw a lot of applications that being faster than the native part. Native app, sorry.
I read some conspiracy theories about Fuchsia OS.
Yeah,
Is it somehow connected to Flutter? Do you know something about it?
Fuchsia OS used Skia for the rendering. It was project of the same team in Google. I think Fuchsia OS was already killed, and lots of the team members moved to the Flutter and the Skia team, now Impeller team. So it's not project anymore in Google. Google usually kills things, but yeah, they moved to Flutter. So I think the Flutter is like something that something they moved with.
And this Impeller, how far is it?
It's currently in alpha. You have it in preview. You can have it in preview. For small apps, you can already use it, but I would not recommend it using in production or some large apps. They will release it later this year. I don't know what it means in a large company. Usually it means next year. But I hope that it's going to be really super soon. So I have a lot of apps that use lists, and I see that it will solve lots of my problems with the performance.
Okay, that was the first guy.
And what about the Flutter development community? Is it easy to find maybe solutions for some issues and many support?
Yeah, I had one of the
So the question was about the community, about the Flutter.
Yeah, how large is the community and things like that. Yeah, okay. I already had one of the slides was about the GitHub stars, how large is the repo. So one answer for that is a large community. It's super large community. Usually you find answer super fast. Also, a lot of the developers are from the eastern part of the world. We know those developers, but they are asking lots of questions, and lots of developers are answering those. So you usually find answer for everything. And if you don't, hit me or hit any of the Czech developers. By the way, we have one of the greatest Flutter developers in the world, in the Czech Republic. He's living near Prague. He's called Filip Hraček. He was previously Flutter in a Flutter team, and he's now not. He's now doing Flutter games, by the way, but he's also answering questions. And yeah, that's it. Community is large.
Or you can ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, you can also ask ChatGPT.
That's fine.
Yep.
Okay. Do you also?
I have a question. Which packages in PubDev you are missing?
So the question was, which packages are missing in the PubDev?
Yeah. For example, for the gestures, I had some advanced gesturing. I have some patterns, and there are packages missing for that I had on previous apps. On a Kotlin, there was a package for that. There was handled gestures a lot. That was one I'm thinking about now. Don't have more examples, sorry, but yeah.
That's fine.
It's better than it was previously. Now it's like I usually find packages, but some are still missing, I think.
Okay, guys, we are running out of time again. I have to stop you now. We can continue outside.
Yeah.
Thank you one more time, Dominik.
Yeah, thanks.